The time for Africa is here. The much-awaited football extravaganza gets underway in Cameroon in just a few hours' time. After a year's delay, 24 of the best teams from Africa will battle it out for the ultimate prize for the next 3 weeks. Thousands of football fans are expected to throng match venues under strict COVID-19 protocols, and Cameroon says, despite security and infrastructural challenges, it is ready to showcase the best African football and prove its critics wrong. But will they dethrone Algeria from the top of African football? Tonight's Sports Scene looks at Africa's 33rd Cup of Nations Championship. Hi there, sports fans. Welcome in to your weekly dose of Sports Scene. And yes, we've got you covered. It's another fascinating, intriguing, and tantalizing show. I'm Richard Nta in Nairobi. This is your Sports Scene. Put on your seatbelts, buckle up, get ready. Let's get started. Here's what's coming up in the show. And Portugal's Jose Peseiro set to take over as new Nigeria head coach after Cameroon 2021. And football giant South Africa in rebuild mode after missing out on 2021 AFCON finals. Well, welcome in. Just like that, Sports Scene is on the air. The wait is finally over for Cameroon, which from Sunday hosts the Africa Cup of Nations 3 years later than initially planned. The host nation, rallying under national team Indomitable Lions, measure up to the likes of reigning champions Algeria, the Senegal of Sadio Mane, and Mohamed Salah's Egypt. Cameroon was supposed to be the host nation in 2019 before being stripped of the tournament due to delays in its preparation, with Egypt replacing it. The 33rd Cup of Nations was then postponed last year because of the pandemic. The Central African country of 27 million people was therefore determined to press on with the competition amid reports last month that leading European clubs wanted it postponed again due to COVID-19 concerns. This time around, it does go ahead, starting Sunday when Cameroon take on Burkina Faso in Yaoundé. Well, the first kickoff of the Africa Cup of Nations will be an eagerly awaited moment. The host Cameroon will officially get the tournament underway when they play against Burkina Faso in Group A at the Olembe Stadium before Ethiopia take on Cape Verde in the same venue in Sunday's only 2 matches. 4 games will be played on Monday. 2019 finalist Senegal will host Zimbabwe, while Guinea and Malawi will meet in another Group B encounter. Later on, though, Morocco and Ghana will square it out before Comores make their debut against Ghana. These matches will be played in the city of Bafoussam. Well, Egypt's Africa Cup of Nations preparations have received a hit before the tournament begins in Cameroon, with 6 members of the delegation getting infected with COVID-19. 1 player and 3 team administrators have also tested positive for the virus, delaying the team's departure to Cameroon for the tournament. CGTN's Adel Al-Mahroui was there and has the very latest from Egypt.
As the Pharaohs were packing their bags for Cameroon's Garoua city for the African Cup of Nations, a wave of COVID-19 infections swept through the team. The Egyptian national team management confirmed 7 COVID-19 cases that included 5 managers and 2 players. Assam al-Hadari, the goalkeeper's coach, and Abu Gabal, the number 2 keeper for Egypt, both tested positive for the virus. Tariq Sulaiman, the under-23 national team goalkeeper's coach, will stand in for al-Hadari in Cameroon until he recovers.
الاختيار موفق جدا. طارق سليمان مش غريب عن حراس مرمى الموجودين وخاصة طبعا.
Tariq Sulaiman is not an alien to the national team. He worked with the Egyptian prime goalkeeper Shenawi in Al Ahly for a long time, so I don't think there will be a problem with that. Moreover, Assam al-Hadari will retake the COVID-19 test in 48 hours and will rejoin the team if he tests negative.
أنا قلت لك إن عصام الحضري في خلال 48 ساعة.
Head coach Carlos Queiroz urgently recalled 3 backup players to the team, but 1 player suffered a knee injury while another tested positive for COVID-19, raising fears for more infections in the squad.
قلنا إن هو أول حاجة إن هو يتأكد إصابته بكورونا عن طريق
Upon arrival in Cameroon, everyone will be subjected to rapid COVID-19 tests. If anyone is positive, he will be quarantined and take a PCR test. So, more players are likely to get infected. Accordingly, to CAF new health regulations, Egypt can replace any player with the list of 40 players it registered with it, but only 48 hours before their first match.
طبعا المسحه. ثالثا ان انت بتجيب لعيب من ال 40.
This latest health crisis has added massive pressure on the Pharaohs. Their opening game in the AFCON is against African giants Nigeria on January 11. Group D also includes Sudan and Guinea-Bissau, which makes Egypt's first game the most important in the group stage. Adil Mahroui, CGTN, Cairo.
All right, let's get more information about the upcoming Africa Cup of Nations from Owaraku Ampofo all the way from Accra. Owarafu, thank you for joining us here on Sports Scene. We are delighted to have you. Let me begin first by asking you about the rising cases of COVID-19 and how that may possibly affect the tournament from your perspective. How do you see it?
Well, I think CAF and the Cameroonian Association have tried their best, and sometimes these issues are out of control. What we do know is that in the meeting 3 days ago, they decided that host games would have 80% of the stadium capacity, whilst other games have 60%. We're also well aware that fans who are attending the stadium need to be vaccinated and also show a negative antigen test that's 24 hours before, or a negative PCR test 72 hours before. So efforts have been put in place, but you know the coronavirus, no matter how hard you try to control it, there would always be a fair few cases. And that's what we've seen so far in the camps of Egypt, Malawi, Gabon, and much recently, Burkina Faso, who will be facing the host tomorrow.
Indeed, your point is well taken. So tell me, what can Cameroon 2021 learn from Egypt 2019?
Well, I think apart from the fact that in 2019 we had 24 teams, and for the first time that was a considerable higher number of games. We're having 50 plus games. What we can pick from, 24 teams playing in the Africa Cup of Nations is that because you have the best 4 third place teams qualifying, lower ranked teams do have a lot of hope coming into the competition that at least they'll be able to reach the knockout round. And we saw a high number of upsets in 2019 in Egypt, with South Africa beating the host Egypt themselves in the round of 16. And then we also have what I would call the biggest upset in the competition last 2 years, and that would be the match between Benin and Morocco. They were star-studded. Everyone thought Heavy Ronaldo would go all the way, and Benin beat them on penalty. So I think we would expect a lot more. We saw Madagascar, a very small country on an island, also going all the way to the quarterfinals. So I think that we can expect a bit more of the same this time around in Cameroon.
All right, with all that being said, let me ask you this. Let's talk about the Gambia. How do you see those debutants and their prospects entering this tournament?
Well, I just mentioned that we saw, Madagascar go all the way. Could Gambia, a very small country as well, go all the way this time around in the Africa Cup of Nations? Well, it's possible. They find themselves in Group F with Tunisia, Gambia themselves, Mauritania, and then Mali. And I'm sure they'll be looking at the group and saying that, yes, Tunisia, Mali are powerhouses, and you look at Mauritania and it's a winnable game, one that they could get something from. So if they're able to get a draw from Tunisia and Mali and get a result against Mauritania, they could be in the mix and possibly be part of the best third place teams that qualify to the next round. You have to keep in mind that the Gambia come into this competition as the lowest ranked team, 150th in the world. So expectations are really low. But despite being such a small country, they have such a large pool of diaspora talent to tap into, with 6 players in their squad coming from Italy, and Musa Barrow being the pick of them, scoring 5 goals in the Serie A this season with Bologna. So there's a little expectation from them, but they could possibly pull a surprise depending on how they do start the tournament.
All right, well said, Owaraku. We have one more question for you, if you would indulge us. The VAR, what impact will it have on this tournament? How do you see it?
Well, we had a hint of it in the last edition when it was introduced in the latter stages, and for the first time in the history of the competition, we'll be seeing the VAR from the group stages. I think it's a good initiative, especially from a Ghanaian point of view, because in 2019, Ghana got knocked out by Tunisia. However, in that game, Andrew Ayew scored a back heel which was supposed to stand, but the referee on the day disallowed it because he thought Thomas Partey in the build-up used his hand. Now, further replay showed that it hit the Arsenal man's chin and not his hand. So in that situation, in isolation, if there was VAR, Ghana could have gone into the lead in that game, and who knows what could have happened. And so I think CAF have made a fantastic decision so that, you cancel that grey area of who knows what could have happened if that decision went right. And this time, we know that the referees would get help. However, I think fans would also have to know that VAR doesn't necessarily mean there will be 100% success rate in terms of getting the decisions right. There would still be some wrong calls because these humans would make those calls, but we're definitely going to see an improvement in some of the calls from the group stage through to the final.
Very well said. I can't wait. Owawaku Ampofo, thank you so much for breaking it all down for us here on Sports Scene. Well, the expanded 24-team Africa Cup of Nations will be played in 6 stadiums across 5 cities. There will be a total of 52 matches in the competition, but due to COVID-19, match attendance will be capped at 80% of a grounds capacity for games involving Cameroon, with 60% for all others. Let's look at the match venues now. Olymbe Stadium in capital city Yaoundé is a 60,000-seater facility. Africa's newest sports stadium will host group stage matches, last 16 quarterfinals, semifinals, and the finals. And Ahmadou Ahidjo Stadium is also in the capital Yaoundé. It sits 40,000 and is the oldest of the stadiums. It will host the group stage, last 16 third place playoff matches, and of course, Japoma Stadium in the commercial hub, Douala, sits 50,000 people. It's one of the new facilities built for the competition that caused tournament delays. It will host stage ties, last 16 quarterfinals, and the semifinals. In northern Cameroon, there is Rumde Adija Stadium in Garoua. Now, it sits slightly over 23,000 people and will also host group stage matches in last 16 ties as well as the quarterfinals. And in western Cameroon, Bafoussam Stadium in Kolkang. Now, this is one of the smallest facilities at 20,000 capacity. Will play host to group stage and last 16 round of matches. And another facility in western Cameroon, the Limbe Stadium. Now, this particular stadium hosts a round of 16 matches as well as one of the tournament's fairly recently built facilities that will host 20,000 spectators. All right, don't miss out. The action continues on Sports Scene. Don't go away. Here's what's ahead. Portugal's Jose Pereira is set to take over as new Nigeria head coach after Cameroon 2021 AFCON finals.
Beijing, China's capital and its cultural nerve center, a modern metropolis with traditional roots. And now it becomes the first city in the world to host both Summer and Winter Olympics. After 14 years, the biggest sporting extravaganza returns to Beijing. Thousands of athletes from around the globe will compete in over 100 events at 3 zones. Cheered on by over 1.4 billion Chinese citizens and millions abroad. CGTN will bring you a ringside view of the historic event. 2022 Beijing Olympics, the games that matter on CGTN. See the difference.
Well, welcome back to Sports Scene. Thank you for staying with us. Let's begin in Cameroon, where the low COVID-19 vaccination rates in Africa Cup of Nations hosts Cameroon, and a fourth wave of the coronavirus across much of the continent could make for sparsely attended matches when the football finals kicks off on Sunday. Tournament organizers require fans to be fully vaccinated to attend the games, and CGTN Sadiq Shaban has more. Let's take a look.
Cameroon announced last month that it would require spectators at Africa's premier football competition to be fully vaccinated and show a negative test result before entering stadiums. This has encouraged some fans to get jabbed, according to doctors and nurses. But the doctors and nurses say they had seen an uptick in vaccination since the government announced the stadium policy.
I'm a fan of the sport and I play as well. I come for two reasons. First, to protect myself by getting vaccinated, and also to get to the stadium to take part in this special event for our country, which is the AFCON.
At the moment here at the center, we have people who wish to travel. We have the people who want to get vaccinated to boost their immune system, and now we have those who run to get vaccinated because it's a condition to access the stadiums.
But the overall vaccination numbers remain extremely low. Just 2.3% of Cameroon's more than 26 million people are fully vaccinated, according to Health Ministry data, even though doses are now widely available. To some football fans, the full vaccination requirement to attend the Africa Cup of Nations matches is a deal breaker.
It will mean that a lot of people will not make it into the stadium because there are not so many people who want to be vaccinated. So the stadiums will be a bit empty. For such a tournament, it's true that we can say it's the first AFCON for us because we are young people. It will be very difficult. So I prefer still to do a test and get to the stadium. But for the vaccine, I am against it.
Infection rates from fourth wave of COVID-19 driven by the Omicron and Delta variants are still rising in many African countries, while some are only just coming down from record peaks. Some of the 24 teams who will feature in Cameroon's 2021 Africa Cup of Nations, among them Gabon, Tunisia and Senegal, are battling COVID-19 infections in their squads ahead of the kickoff. Sadiq Shaban, CGTN.
Well, Africa's top-ranked football team, Senegal, will make their 17th appearance in the competition on Monday against Zimbabwe in Group B. The Lions of Teranga came closest to lifting the title in 2019 when they lost to Algeria by a solitary goal during the last edition in Egypt. Led by former player Aliou Cissé, the West Africans will be hoping that this time around things will be different. The team boasts of key football talents plying their trade in major European leagues, including Edouard Mendy, Kalidou Koulibaly, Idrissa Gueye, and Ismaila Sarr and Sadio Mane. Now, despite a COVID-19 scare which affected 3 players, Pape Sarr, Nampalys Mendy, and Mama Thiam, the Senegalese public believe their team is the best in the competition at the moment.
As the top African nation in the FIFA rankings, the only thing Senegal needs to do now is to win AFCON. We believe in it because of the players' mindset, the solidarity in the team, and the players' experience. The team must not be content with its first place in Africa, but the players must understand that we all have a hard time not having won this trophy, and it's now essential to have a star on our jersey.
This year, I think our team will win the African Cup of Nations. We look forward to the arrival of this trophy in Senegal. It is the only thing we miss. We are behind our national selection and we will support the players to achieve this goal. All the Senegalese people are waiting for the cup, and this year we will win this trophy because we have confidence in our team.
Today, at all levels of the game, we have the qualities to conquer this continental trophy, which we have been chasing for several years. I think we are the second favorite of this AFCON behind Algeria, but we have to admit that we are the best African team at the moment.
Well, the 33rd AFCON kicks off on Sunday with Portuguese national Jose Peseiro traveling to Cameroon as part of the Nigerian delegation as an observer. Pizarro is then expected to take over as the new head coach of the Super Eagles after the tournament. CGTN's Deji Badamosi brings us more.
Tournament favorites and African football giant Super Eagles will have a new foreign coach at the helm following the AFCON finals. Jose Pizarro was previously in charge of the Venezuela national team until August 2021, when he resigned for being owed 14 months in salary arrears. The 61-year-old former player has also coached Sporting Lisbon, FC Porto and Al Ahly of Egypt. The Nigeria FA has clarified that the Portuguese will only be with the Super Eagles at the AFCON as an observer, while interim manager Augustin Eguavon will be in charge of the team.
The observer tag that is being given, I don't know what that, I don't know when it sounds like a political coinage to me, you know, when you're trying to observe an election. It's just a coach as an observer. Yes, I don't think there's anything he will add to whatever happens. It might not have any direct impact on the outcome at the African Cup of Nations, but let's see how it goes.
With 29 years of coaching experience, Pizarro has been in charge of 20 teams, of which just 2 are national sides. He's won 175, drawn 81 and lost 106 of his 362 games as a coach that have brought him only 3 trophies. This record has not set pulses racing in Nigeria.
His profile is not that inspiring, in the sense that he has only had 2 national team experience with Venezuela and Saudi Arabia. And when you talk about football, these are not the countries you look forward to emulate. And besides, he really didn't make much mark with those countries.
And in football, there's this particular saying that you're as good as your last game or your last job. What did you achieve with your last job? He was in charge of the national team of Venezuela, played 10 games, won just 1, drew 3, lost 6. And when you look at that, that's very dismal. For me, that's one of the reasons it wasn't exciting to have him as the manager of the Super Eagles, really. It's not an exciting choice. It's not really something you want to go after letting go of Genetro.
Pizarro has his work cut out. The Nigerian Football Federation has mandated him to ensure the Super Eagles qualify for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, or else his position will be reviewed. He also would need to work hard to convince fans he's the right man for the job. And securing the World Cup ticket may just not be enough. How the team plays and qualifies for the World Cup will certainly matter. Deji Bademasi, CGTN, Lagos, Nigeria.
And South Africa's national football team, Bafana Bafana, will have to watch the Africa Cup of Nations in Cameroon on their television screens after missing out on the qualification. But since then, the team has undergone major changes, hired a new coach, and are showing signs of improvement ahead of the 2023 qualifying campaign. CGTN CS Duplessis has more. Let's take a look.
In March last year, South Africa's 2-0 defeat away to Sudan confirmed that the 2019 quarter-finalists would not be a part of the Africa Cup of Nations in Cameroon. It prompted the arrival of former AFCON winning coach Hugo Bruce, who was confident he could revive the lifeless Bafana Bafana.
I need players who are strong enough to fight there. Maybe in such games, It's not so important to have the best football qualities, but the best mental qualities. So this is analyzing. And I would be surprised if I see what we need, that we can't find it in a country as South Africa.
The Belgian has made an impact since taking the reins and now needs to focus on developing this group into a battle-hardened unit that becomes AFCON regulars and eventually title contenders.
They have to take small steps by starting to qualify with dignity within their group stages and that. But they can. Why not? You know, you got to believe to achieve, and it can happen if they really want it and put it together as a team and not as individuals, and start looking to dominate as a nation again.
According to the former Porto, Celta Vigo and West Ham striker Benny McCarthy, there's an abundance of talent that needs to leave the comfort zone of the PSL and explore opportunities abroad if they're to improve as national players.
Like what we learn out there, we get to come back to South Africa and implement it here, and it will just help this country grow, and the players to become better and growing. And then when we go on to international stage, we're prepared because we've got players who's playing at levels where we know what's expected of us when we play on the global stage, you know.
Bafana need to spark another success period, qualify for major tournaments, and get this new generation of young footballers into the minds of the fans, into the minds of coaches abroad, to sign them up and to get lucrative contracts, because that's, after all, that's what it's about. You know, you want to be seen and playing in major leagues, and why not?
Bafana's AFCON absence remains a bitter pill to swallow for South African football fans, but they will take some positives from the performances under the Belgian tactician, who's managed to galvanize a young, talented team that is starting to show signs that as a group they possess all the necessary attributes to qualify for the 34th edition of Africa's biggest tournament in 2023 and continue to do so for tournaments for the foreseeable future. CS du Plessis, CGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.
Well, that's it for this special edition of Sports Scene. Remember, you can send us your feedback to the contacts on the screen and follow us on digital media platforms. For the team, I'm Richard Nta saying thank you so much for watching and enjoy the Cameroon 2021 Africa Cup of Nations.